Michael-Adam Shookhye here, and today we're joined by The Tricks. Gentlemen, how are we?
Good. Yeah.
So you guys are a relatively new band, so first things first, how did you meet and how did you decide to become a band?
Well, me and Joel and Ash kind of grew up together.
Okay.
Elliot, well, we all did, I guess, in a kind of hometown, and we were playing in a band together, us three, and Elliot was playing in a band as well.
So did you guys know each other beforehand, or?
We all went to school, the same school, and played the same
Oh,
team.
right. So you were almost like competing in terms of bands?
Yeah. So
Okay.
the band I was in and the bandleader, they were in like the two bands of the town, kind of thing. And then I moved to London, and then the band broke up, so I joined these guys when they came up.
You guys have got a double A side coming out on the 6th of February, and that's with your two tracks, Remember Me, and Just for the Summer. So tell us about how those two tracks came together and what they're about.
I think Remember Me was probably the first song, maybe the first or second song that we wrote as The Tricks.
Mm-hmm.
Me and Elliot had the guitar riff,
It's like a sentimental value.
First
song.
Yeah. I mean, it was actually probably the first time Joel picked up the bass and started playing.
True. I can remember we had a rehearsal,
That was
and they'd written the song, and at that point we didn't have a bass player, and I was just singing.
Yeah.
And then I picked up the bass to play that song, to play along, so we had bass in the song.
Mm-hmm.
And then we kind of worked out they actually worked.
Sure.
And so Remember Me was the first song we wrote.
Mm-hmm.
The first song I played bass on. And then Just for Summer came a lot later, didn't it?
Yeah, that probably came along just after the first time we went to LA, and then we came back and kind of wrote more songs for the album, and that was one of the newer songs that came together.
So was it written in LA, did you say, or was it written
from
LA?
Yeah, no, it was written before we went out to record the album in LA.
So how long ago did you go to LA?
That was in
March and April.
March and April.
How did you find it?
Yeah, it was amazing.
Amazing, yeah.
It was really good.
But do you find that in LA that everyone was either an actor, like part-time actor, part-time waiter, part-time trade? It's quite funny, yeah.
We had like a house that was part of a hotel, and the barman of the hotel kind of like, we'd speak to him whenever we get back, because we'd like to sit in the bar.
Sure.
And he wanted to be an actor, and he was really funny.
He was always talking about the people that were in the hotel, like Counting Crows were in there one day.
The guy we met the guy who created, you remember Ren and Stimpy?
Yeah, of course.
we met the guy who was just at the bar, and Luke was like, this guy created Ren and Stimpy, and we just like, alright.
Took us about 5 minutes.
Whatever, man.
He was just like, fucking Brits.
Moving on to the actual recording process, what I find interesting is that when I ask bands, my standard question is I ask, so what comes first when you write a song? Because I find it really interesting how a song can come from just a general idea in someone's head to actually become into being. So what comes first, usually the lyrics, or like the guitar riff, or the drum beat?
It's different with every song, really. I think it changes depending on who. We all kind of come up with ideas individually.
Yeah.
So it depends who kind of comes up with the idea to specifically what instrument they play, I suppose.
I mean, we've never started something from lyrics though. Lyrics always kind of come last with us, I think.
Yeah.
It was interesting the other day. I was like going through my CDs, like blank CDs. One of them had a demo of one of the songs we recorded for the album, and it's the whole song complete, but then there's singing on it but no words. It's just trying to work out a melody, but it's the whole song.
Yeah.
And then when we get to that point, then I'd like kind of write some lyrics and then we collaborate.
Because I listened to your two tracks last week, and in comparison to other indie bands, you have quite a pop feel to you. And I get the impression that you could quite easily just take a date to one of your gigs. It's quite, you kind of like dance to the music as well. Was that intentional, or did it just kind of come up naturally?
I think that's probably just because we're the kind of guys that go on dates. So that comes up. I don't know.
Have you got any date stories? You mentioned date. Now I'm going to have to probe you with you're the type of guys that go on dates. Have you got any good date stories? Any good dates you've been on recently?
What about your first date with Jenny?
Let's go. This sounds good.
I was going on a date with a past girlfriend, and I went to this place called Wilton's Music Hall, which is really nice, kind of old music hall in Aldgate East. And we went to the bar, and I was going on like, we have to go to this place. And when we got there, and I was like, I phoned up and made sure there's a table and stuff we can sit at. So when we got there, I ordered the drinks. When you go and sit down, got the drink on that table, point at the table. got the drinks, walked over, then there was just a condom on the table. I'd got it phoned up and been like, can you put a condom on the table? Like, I was the biggest sleaze in the world. So that obviously that day, well, it went actually quite good.
Okay.
You managed to pull it round.
I did. I didn't put it there, I promise.
Absolutely. Okay, last question. Now, you guys are signed to Johnny Depp's record label. Out of curiosity, how did that all come about?
Calling it Johnny Depp label is probably not quite correct.
It's Unison Music.
It's Unison Music. It's
yeah.
kind of his one of his very good friends' labels, and
right.
Johnny Depp. Kind of a lot of stuff with films and stuff to do with Johnny's production company goes through Unison Music. So yeah, when we heard they were interested in us, when we spoke to Bruce, he saw us play in London and came up to us straight afterwards and was like, oh, you know, it'd be great to get you guys over to LA to do some demos, and we were just like, well, yeah. Okay. So, and then you know, a few months passed, and then he was, well, no, it wasn't a few months, was it? It was like a week later. Joel went for lunch with him.
It was actually 2 days later.
Yeah, 2 days later. In my mind, it was months.
we went for a meal. Obviously, he'd seen us play, and I think part of the reason that he liked our band so much was that it reminded him of the band that he was in the 80s, called The Kids. And we had a very similar kind of interest in the same artists, like Elvis Costello, for example. He's a massive Elvis Costello fan. So he's interested in like doing the band and recording the band. And the initial idea was that we'd do something in London maybe, but then he's got a studio in LA, so I kind of lent on him. And then he said, well, you could come over to LA to record it, and then I was like, well, that's much better.
Absolutely, free to LA, yeah.
And, you know, it kind of went from there. The thing is, like, we went out for a 2-week period and recorded 5 tracks. Just to kind of like test and see like whether we could work together. And it just went really well, like it was an amazing experience. So when we got back, they signed us, and then we obviously went out there for 2 months to record the whole record.
Cool. I mean, we did play in Camden, and Johnny came and watched us, which was pretty cool.
Oh wow!
I think it was cool for our fans as well to come.
Oh my God, it's Johnny Depp.
See him, and you know, my mum was there actually.
Did she freak out?
Introducing my mum to Johnny Depp, which was pretty cool because she's a big fan. So yeah.
So what was he like?
Was
he? Because he's quite a big fan of your band. Then?
Yeah, he's a really lovely guy, and just really kind of
just down to earth,
humble and down to earth, and really likes his music and his art and stuff. So yeah.
So did you see him like do a little jig when you were playing? Was he really getting into the music?
Yeah, he was rocking a bit.
Cheeky headbang.
It's definitely a cheeky headbang. Yeah, it was good.
Cool. Well, thank you very much, guys. It's been a pleasure interviewing you.
Thanks.
And have fun on tour, I'm sure.